Alright, so this week and for these videos we were talking about side control. In the last session, in the last video, we were talking about being on top of side control and our pinning principles and attacking principles. So we were talking about being in a tight hip pin. So when I'm just low on a low pass, I've came in covering the hips, elbows are tight. This stops my opponent moving like his hips, but he's often able to move his shoulders. My goal is often to go from a low pin. When in this position, it's hard to attack him or control him or progress to better controlling positions, to come to a chest-to-chest shoulder pin. So from here I was reaching for the head, pulling myself chest-to-chest, going for an underhook and getting my cross face, bringing my knee to my elbow here and sprawling this hip to hip. So now if my partner tries to move around a bit, I should be able to control it. A lot of times from here, we were talking about, it makes sense that my partner starts to frame here. I was driving over, bringing his hand to the mat, and looking to hit my first submission in Americana, or changing my angle, looking towards his feet, and then I'm stepping over to progress the mount. So today, we switch up the top here. We're going to talk about what to do on bottom and the kind of general ideas. Again, my goal, especially in jiu-jitsu, for like if I'm on bottom and attacking, is often I want my legs in front of me so that I can stand again. My legs in front of me, I can make connections and grab him if it was a gi in certain ways and start to play my guards and make offensive attacks. When I'm on bottom and my legs are not in front of me, so like side control, bottom mount, the guy's on my back, all those positions are inherently going to be more defensive. There's maybe some attacks you can do, but mainly we're going to be wanting to escape through those bad positions to get back to a position where we can have our legs in front of our opponent. So we can go to side. So the first thing we're going to talk about is what if he's in like this low hip pin? Yeah, low like this. The main mistake that guys make when they're starting out from the side control is that they let the guy grab with their head. If the guy grabs my head, he's going to be really easy to control me. Not only when he grabs my head here, can he use this to pull himself chest to chest, which is a stronger position, or come to mount, if you just pull yourself chest to chest. Not only can he use it to come chest to chest, but also when he's low on a hip pin, right? When I try and move my shoulders here, I have a lot more movement. As soon as he grabs my head, now I can't move that much. You mean my body can't really go anywhere that my head can't go. So if my head's stuck, my body's going to be stuck. So when the guy's on like a low hip pin, like this, the main goal I have here, if I'm in a situation where the guy hasn't grabbed my head, is to not let him grab my head. If he stays here, there's a couple of escapes you can learn from here, which you'll learn down the line, where I can free him on the head and start to come up and start to scoot back. But for today, we're mostly going to talk about an escape, which is just called like reguarding, essentially getting our legs back in front of us. When we're here, it's easy for us to push him away, and like, while we're maybe a bit stuck here, he can't really attack us here. It's hard for him to progress the mount, it's hard for him to try his Americanas or other submissions. He's going to want to go chest to chest. And the main way he facilitates a chest to chest is by grabbing my head, like he was doing before, and then using that to pull himself up chest to chest. And now he's in this strong position where he can start attacking my arms and isolating me, etc., etc. So as soon as that happens, we're going to stay tight, keep your elbows nice and tight. As soon as he starts to reach for my head here with this hand, we're going to block like this. We don't really want to actually block with our hand. We block with our hand, one, if he's really dragging a lot of weight down, I can like bend my wrist in a way that's uncomfortable. And also it's easier for him to pummel his hand to the inside. So like swim through this space. Yeah, he can swim and then start to control me like that, control my arms and my head, and reset up that position. So yeah, when I'm here and he goes to grab my head, I'm going to be framing with my same side arm. So he's on my left arm is catching kind of where my watch is, right in the crook of his elbow. Especially if he starts to come up and he's trying to drive his weight over with his chest, I'm going to bring this other hand across, and you just stay in side control there. I'm going to use this hand kind of to frame across this line of his shoulders. So my elbow's going to this shoulder, and my hand's going to come to this other shoulder. I'm like framing my forearm up against his neck. So I'm here like this. So now when my partner tries to grab my head from here, it's very difficult. A lot of times he'll be leaning your weight in against this. See, now he'll be leaning his weight in, and I'm like this. This is now the best time for me to hit and escape. Because my partner's, when he goes from a hip pin to a chest pin, if he controls my head, it's really easy for him to keep me controlled the whole time. But when he goes from a hip pin to a chest pin and I'm able to block this grip on my head, either with two hands or like this, and now he starts to like try and drive his weight up, now there's nothing really, my shoulders are kind of free and my hips are free at the same time. Now we're gonna start doing our escape. And this is where our hip escape motion comes in that we do as a warm up. So I'm putting my outside foot in the mat, so in this case my right foot, and I'm gonna hip escape and turn onto my side like this. I'm not like stacking so much on my side like this. I just want to turn slightly so my knees point towards my opponent. Alright? Just have a bit more sideways. So I'm here, he goes for my head, I start blocking like this. My outside foot that's coming on the mat, so the one furthest away from him, and I'm hip escaping and turning my hips out, showing my butt out that way. So if my right foot goes on the mat, my butt's like pointing out to the right. From here, I want to bring my knee in through this space between us. If I'm really flat here, like this, and I try to bring my knee through, it's going to be difficult. So similar to our dart retention, I'm bringing my shoulders up and doing a bit of a crunch. My goal, is that I want to connect a really strong frame across my opponent. So I'm looking to connect my elbow and my knee like this, or my elbow and my knee like that. What works well is if I just come here, if I have my elbow and knee connected and he tries to control me here, I can always push him off, make space, and turn back in. So when I'm in this position, go back to our hip pin, he reaches for my head, I block, he starts to bring his chest forward and get his weight over, I'm blocking with his other arm. My foot's going on the mat, and I hip escape. I'm like lifting up, I'm going to bring both my knees nice and high to lift my hips off the mat. I'm going to frame, and this bottom knee is going to come across to his shoulder. So like now my knee and my elbow are nearly connected here. If you lift this on out of the way, you can hopefully see here that my elbow and knee are now connected, like this. From here, it's really easy. If he tries to drive his weight onto me here and control me, it's really easy for me to push away. And then when I push away, I can spin by keeping a little of my back on the mat like before, and I can even shoot my closed guard and I'm back to a strong defensive position where I can start attacking my own offense. We'll just scoot back a wee bit here. So same idea, I'm here, he's in a hip pin. I can keep my elbows tight, he goes to control here. If he's just here like this, I'm not gonna really do my escape yet, but as he starts trying to drive his weight with his chest, I'm framing across here. My foot's going on the mat, and I'm hip escaping and turning on my side. Now I can bring both my knees nice and tight up to my chest, put my knee ideally on his shoulder, so it's coming like a cross. So I have like a leg press motion, and then I can push him away, and then I can even use my hands to curl and pull as I push to spin back and face him. So a couple of mistakes a lot of guys make, if you're off me for a wee second, is one, they stay really flat. So they get on the other side, they keep this leg flat, and they try to bring this knee to their chest. Now I'm doing a stretch. See how now I'm like stretching? This is like a groin stretch. Rather, I want to bring both my knees up. The higher this knee here, this other leg isn't doing anything to get this knee in terms of it's not going to connect. But by doing nearly like an overhead kick motion, it helps me get this knee tighter to my chest. And I'm not doing a stretch. If I keep this leg flat on the mat, my knee's coming nowhere near my chest. And the more my knee comes to my chest, the more it becomes in between me and my opponent, and it's easier to push them away. While if I lift this other leg and bring my knee to my chest, now this knee can come flush. So now my elbow knee is really strong here. The other issue that people do is that they bring their knee in really low, like this. What happens here, it's going to be maybe kind of hard to see. If you actually come to this side here. Yeah, we'll rotate a wee bit this way. So a bit of a side angle. When I bring my knee really low here, like this, I'm like extending with the weight coming like through my ankle. So if you come kind of heavy here, I can kind of push him away here, but if you back up here for a second now, when my knee's across his hip here, I'm using like this really weak muscle of like pushing like this. I'm not very strong. You push my foot, like push against me and I'll try and push back. This is really weak here. See, it's hard if you really push. It's really hard for me to push him away with that grip. But if I get my knee high in this position, so again, I'm here, I'm framing and my knee comes high and comes across his chest. Now I'm like doing a leg press like in the gym. And I can really push hard, even if the guy's bigger than me. So same idea, grab the front of my shin here, and now try and like push me down. I'm going to go and send him backwards. Compare that to here when I'm low and I'm trying to push sideways, I'm weak. But if I'm pushing with my leg high, like a leg press, I'm going to be strong. So I'm back, we'll do this angle and then we'll turn. He would have been here. He comes back to, just come to the hip pin to start there, Kenzie. He goes to grab my head. I'm blocking the arm and blocking when he starts to come up and bring his weight in his chest behind. I'm blocking across as kind of like the line of his shoulders to here. My foot goes in the mat, I hip escape out, and you'll see that my knee's not coming here, my knee's coming here. And I'm kicking this leg over the head, get this knee really high. It's like Kenzie tries to put all his weight on me now and collapse me and try and grab my head. Even if I get here, I can push, and then get him back into a strong close guard. So it's always going to be easier when the guy doesn't grab my head. I'll go back to this side here. The other thing that might happen is sometimes, depending on the situation, is you might need to do a couple hip escapes. So if I'm here, and he does the same situation as before, I drive, you start to bring your chest over. I'm here. Sometimes I feel like if I do one hip escape and he's really close, I might be like banging my knee against him. I'll just do another one. And then again, both my knees are coming high. I'm trying to curl into the wall. Then when my knee comes to the chest, it's easy now to push him away with this knee, and I spin on my back. I get that pull on his arm, bam, and control this position. All right. So that's going to be our main idea here. If you're off me, I'll do the whole thing kind of without a partner. I'd be framing, stopping his head, grabbing me around the neck this side. My foot would come on the mat, I bring my foot nice and close to my butt. I hip escape onto my side. I don't leave my back leg nice and flat. I'm doing a stretch. I bring both my legs high and try to bring my knee into my chest against his chest. So I can do a strong leg press and then spin around back to face him into a close guard position. And it's going to be a really similar idea, even if I mess up and my opponent is able to grab my head. We need to do a wee bit more work because our head's trapped and we're not going to be as mobile. But what we're doing with our legs after we establish some strong frames will be a very similar idea. So we'll go the same thing. So say I'm here, I'm trying to control my partner maybe, or I mess up and he's able to grab my head and come to like a chest to chest thing, like this. I'm gonna do the same thing with my legs, but first I need to get a wee bit of space in between us. If I just try and hip escape and get my knee in here, he's gonna be too close. I need to establish some frames to make space for my legs to fill. A good way to think about jiu-jitsu is that the guy on top is always trying to take away space. The more space he takes away, the less I can move, the more he can pin me, and the more I'm pinned, the easier it's going to be to submit me. As the guy on bottom, I'm looking to create space to then fill with my body. All right? So when I'm here, I'm looking to get two things. I'm looking to get my hand here, if you just lift your head, across his neck like this. Similar to what we were talking about last week when the guy was doing this. If I frame against this, he tries to push in against this, it's uncomfortable because I'm like framing right across his abdomen. If I'm quick enough here, or he's like loose with his head, often I can just bring this across. Very unlikely he's nice and tight here. I'm gonna bring my hand right here to be ready, and then I can just do a couple bumps. So I'm just bringing my feet on the mat and just bumping my chest up. And as I do that, I'm gonna sneak this hand in and across. And this hand's doing a very similar thing I was just doing earlier, where it's coming across the line of the shoulders. So before we were doing blocking and coming here, this arm's not really changing position. We don't have the control of this arm because he'd be holding our head, but we're going to get this arm in the same place where I'm cupping his far shoulder with my hand, my elbow's going to his other shoulder, so I can kind of drive a wee bit of forearm pressure into his neck. So again, he'd be here. If I was trying to get this in and there's no room, I'm just bringing my hand like flat on my chest, like this, and then as I bump, I'm going to sneak it in between us. And then get it here and I'll flare. My other arm here, I'll show on the other side, is going to tuck under his ribs. So if he's up here, a lot of guys here will try and push on the hip with this hand. Instead, I'm going to be bringing my arm, curling it, so if you come down a little bit here, it's like going to be connected here. So see how this one is connected across his shoulder and his far shoulder? I'm doing the exact same thing with the other hand, except it will be hip to hip. So essentially it's going to be off. This arm will be here, this arm will be here. And I can use that as a strong frame to hold his weight off me. So if you come to the other side here, super quick, I'll be able to show it a bit better. So I'll rotate, yeah, that'll be good. Here. So I get this arm comes across. See, I don't want to push on the hip. I don't want to just chop here. I chop, and this arm is going to curl as if this elbow, point of this elbow, is going to touch his far hip. So if you come up a wee bit here, it's going to look like this. You know he's wearing a hoodie, so it can be a bit hard to see. It's going to look like this. Essentially as if I'm you mean like robot arms here, like this. Strong right angles. And both of these grips now, when I get here and here, now I can do my same hip escape, and when I hip escape, I'm gonna push and frame here. And now I can do the same thing. My knee can come to my chest, I can push off that and spin back to face him, and ideally get back to a closed guard position if I'm a beginner, or an open guard position if I'm more advanced. So same thing here. I messed up and he grabbed my head here. Yeah. Often it can be easy to get this in. already, because it's like harder. He's probably not going to be as tight with his hips here, but it is super tight with his hips here. Can here. And I can't get this elbow in often. I can just bump and get this one, and then I can bump a wee bit with this to make the space to slip this in. And again, both my arms are like essentially near like parallel to the floor. So my elbow is against this shoulder, my hand's on this crook of this elbow, and my other elbow's to his forehead and my hand's here. Now if he tries to drive against me a wee bit, I mean, it's difficult. I'm gonna put up my foot in the mat, and when I free him, I don't just turn here and do nothing with my arms. When I turn, I'm gonna push with my arms and make this space in between our chests. So even if he's trying to hold me pretty tight, I can make enough space to now again bring my knee to my chest by lifting up my other foot. And ideally, I try to get my knee in between our chests. This is gonna be stronger for pushing him away. And then I can even keep my hand on his hip or my hand on the shoulder and turn and spin. Ideally, freeing my foot. Sometimes I'll get to a position where my foot gets stuck like here and my partner will be really tight. I'll like free him and I'll get my foot stuck here and I can't free it anymore. If I try to pull my foot to my, like out from here, it can be really difficult. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate my foot out so my toes will point down. I'm gonna turn the other way with my head and my foot's gonna be able to slide out. What's happening here, if you're off me for a second, is my foot stuck here. I wanna pull it to free it, but if he's really tight here, I can't pull it to my chest and bring it out. So instead I'm gonna rotate it out like this. See, when I get to there, I can't really go any further because my foot can't rotate out. But you see, the more I turn my head the opposite direction, the easier it's gonna be to kick and circle. So if I do my last thing there, I mess up, he grabs my head. I free him across here, I free him across the hips, foot on the mat, I do the same motion we were just doing, hip escape out, drive, my knee comes to the chest, my leg comes out, I push, I turn, my foot gets stuck, I'm gonna bring my head the opposite way. So if my right foot's stuck, my head goes to the left, and then I can circle my foot out, and then I'm back to my closed guard. And if you're watching the video from the first section, I could even now start to attack if his hand was on. Alright. One last thing we'll look at super quick is if you come on this side. Because sometimes we were talking about the importance of getting an underhook in the last video. So if you're on me, go to chestman. Perfect. Kenzie's got a strong underhook here, which means I'll probably do that escape, where again I was trying to do this, bridge, and re-escape in. If for whatever reason I'm able to get an underhook on him here, which just means I punch through here on the side of the arm, now I can do my underhook style escape. We also do our bridges as a warm-up in this class, or if you haven't, if you're just watching this video and you haven't been to the classes yet, or trained somewhere else perhaps, we're going to do a big bridge, and this hand's going to come across. See, as my elbow goes into his elbow, that's going to push his head like that way and take weight off my chest with this space. And I'm going to follow my hand and turn to my knees. So as I'm here, I push, I'm going to turn to my knees, and I'm going to be pulling this arm. It's going to come out, and I'm going to come up to my elbow to base myself. So I push, I turn, and I come up to here on my elbow. Now I can slip out here. I could come all the way out and attack this turtle position, or if I wanted, I'm back here, I'm able to pummel for an underhook on my partner. I do a big bridge and I don't push him up. Imagine my head's at 12 o'clock, I'm pushing him to like 11 o'clock, so it's just like diagonal, not straight across. See how this kind of hits him into the side? I want to lift it up this way. That makes space for my body to follow. So I bridge, and when I'm doing a bridge, remember guys, I bring my feet really close to my butt, and at the end I'm coming up on my toes. My feet are far away, I can't get my hips as high. So big bridge, I turn onto my left shoulder or my other shoulder, and I pull my elbow up so I can base. I come up, free myself completely. I could attack turtle, or I could even come up here, stay low, and I could just grab both his foreleg with both my hands and just drive into him and collapse into him. So that's our kind of goals for our side control escape class. Mostly we're going to be re-guarding. If my partner's in a hip pin, time, I'll just have it super quick. If my partner's in a hip pin, my goal is not to let him grab my head. So when he goes to grab my head, I can block, hip escape out, turn back to face him. If I muck up and he does grab my head here, I'm going to first get my strong frames in place, so my hip escape I can keep a bit of space, and then same idea, I turn back to face him if I need to frame my foot. If my partner messes up and I'm able to get an underhook, I can bridge, push him across, turn my knees, come up, and either attack what we would call turtle, or drive low and even knock him those. So that'll be us for today, and then next week we'll talk about mount. So how we come to mount from like our side control demonstration we did at the start. we'll come to mount, do some pinning stuff, do some attacks, and then the class after that will be again escaping mount to either side control where we'll keep escaping, or escaping mount back to having our legs in front of us where we can be then offensive from the bottom position. Thank you so much, guys.